Yeah, no, I'm very happy to be here. I lived here for a long time and I worked here for a long time, so it's nice to be back. As a viewer, anyway, I tend to respond to films which are pretty singular, or any piece of fine art or literature that has a really strong identity. Because if you're doing something radical, it's always a gamble, and sometimes it's a gamble that pays off, sometimes not. But I think it's important to keep working in that way. In America, I grew up with Turner Classic Movies on cable, which is where I discovered most things. I mean, it's where I saw Lola Montez or Orson Welles movies, or you name it. My first memories of cinema is from my grandparents' basement. I sort of started acting at a very young age, a little bit accidentally. I was living in a very small town in Colorado, and my family knew that I was sort of a cinephile already at that age, and there was an audition in my hometown, and they said, "Oh, you like movies, so why don't you go give it a shot?" And then it sort of took on a life of its own. I had a pretty normal life in a lot of ways. I mean, I was only making one movie a year or something. I think that for other young or child actors and stuff, I think it sort of depends on what they're doing. If you end up on a TV show where you're working 9 months out of the year, it takes over your life. It's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of money. I mean, I never made a lot of money, so that kept me pretty grounded, So I was sort of trying to get my film made for many, many years. And of course, like, all of those years were not active, but that was sort of when it started. And so I thought about making other films, even though I'd started writing this one, and then yeah, I just kept coming back to this one. I really love, like, every part of the process of making films. It's nice because you go through this cycle of that's quiet, where you're writing for 6 months or or 3 months or a year, and then you have a year of being very social, having a lot of meetings, talking about how to make that film possible. Then you're shooting, and then you go back to being very private again when you're editing. So it's kind of like, it's really, it kind of gives me everything that I need. I mean, I think that Frederick Wiseman is the greatest living American film director, sort of like, documentary or otherwise. If aliens came down to planet Earth, you could just give them like a Fred Wiseman, box set, and they would know everything that they needed to know about us. I mean, Peeraer was a really, really important filmmaker in terms of kind of shaping the way that I saw movies growing up, and actually so was Claire Denis. The way that she was telling stories seemed truly modern and vital to me. The story behind that, which is really quite ridiculous, is that I think I picked it up because there was a rooster on the cover. I was a kid and I liked animals, so that's how I saw the film. I would say 0 for conduct. Probably like bois, like a tome de savoir or something really nice. And if I were a French song, I think I would be an American song instead. That's sort of, when it comes to pop music, I grew up with something else entirely.